All right, welcome back to a very long delayed stream. I know it's been at least months. Um, yeah, trying out this new streaming software too. It's called Meld Studio. It's kind of a replacement for OBS, and so I'm curious curious how if it's coming through all right. So if you see this and you want to say something, please let me know. Um, so today I'm going to actually be, despite the stream notes, I'm not going to be doing Need for Speed Underground 2. I am going to be teaching myself Rust. I've been watching lots of videos of John Hu, and basically I've opened Rust enough to like effectively do a hello world, and that's about the extent of my Rust experience aside from just watching videos. I was also going through Ryan Chandler's Rust for PHP Devs course. So I'm a little bit comfortable with the general syntax and stuff, but I've never really done anything in Rust. So today we're going to change that. So I'm currently working on a side project that involves the need for a bunch of like web spidering. And so the idea is you give us a web page, we will create a static version of that site, and we'll do a bunch of other stuff too. But right now we use wget2 to do the mirroring portion of that, and it's great. It works just like we want it to. I just wanted to basically use that as a fairly simple learning point for how to build a Rust application. So that's what we're going to start today. I've got a kind of a general flow chart here of what we're trying to accomplish here. Basically, the program will start. You'll give it some kind of URL or URI, whatever, to start off with. And so that'll put it in some kind of like a list or vec of links that it's going to crawl. And so it's going to check if the list is empty. If there's nothing left in the list, obviously we can just exit. If it's not empty, then we'll fetch the first item in that list. And so we can use the Tokio crate, which allows us to do multi-threading, which is awesome because I believe the request crate with, if you clone it, if I understand correctly, and this is the first time I've ever done memory low-level programming, so I might be using the wrong terminology here. I apologize. But if we clone request, like the request object, we can use connection pooling, which is awesome, which is good because we're going to be making a lot of connections to these web servers. So if we can minimize the round trip time, that's awesome. So we're going to take the response from the fetch, and we're going to do a couple of different things. So first of all, if it's not HTML, like if it's, let's say, a CSS file or it's an image or something, we'll just save a copy of the file, and then that incident or that instance of the Tokio thread can kind of disappear and we're done. If it is HTML, first we're going to use the regex crate to find any more links in that page. And we're also going to use the regex crate to take a copy of the currently downloaded one and replace all of the hard-coded internal links with the relative ones. So for example, if in the HTML content, there is an A tag that points to https://example.com/about us. We'll just get rid of the first bits, like the HTTPS and the example.com, so that it's all just relative paths to the currently scoped site, so that we don't have to worry about where it's going to live. We just want to be able to open this site locally on our own computer if we want, and so we can just use internal relative links for that. So then it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna use regex to find any more links, and it's going to put those in the queue. And then we're going to do the same loop again. We're going to check if there's links to crawl. If the list is empty, then we can say, yeah, okay, we're done. Otherwise, we're going to actually go fetch the next one, and so on until we've basically exhausted all of the potential URIs that we've found, kind of thing. So that's the general concept of what we're trying to do here. I don't know how successful we're going to be. I did try and play around with this once already, just to kind of understand, like, is this even something I can do? I was able to get a very, very basic version of this working. But it's like, I understand with Rust, it's like if it compiles, it works. But I really, even just from like writing, 20 lines of that, or whatever it was, 100 lines of that, it was already getting really, really bad. And so I wanted to just basically scrap it and start a new stream. So I guess with that, we will go in here and we will start our new projects. So I'm just going to call it Spider. Okay, so Spider, and we are going to cargo install. I know we're going to need these crates, so I'm just going to get them right now. Request and Tokio. Cargo add. Okay, cool. Okay, the other thing that I know we're going to need, I think there's a feature in Tokio that we're going to need that isn't installed by default, but we'll just figure that out as we go. So we'll go vim, and we will go into the main.rs. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is take in some arguments. So we are going to say, how do we want to do this? We're going to be doing a lot of Googling here. This is, like I said, this is me learning. So none of this stuff is stuck, really. It was more just like, can I even find myself familiar with Rust? And I think the answer to that is yes. So that's why we're going down this path. So we're going to go to get command line arguments from Rust program, whatever. Accepting command line arguments, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no problem. All right, so standard env and then args collect. Okay, so we're going to say use std env. Oops. We're going to say, sure, perfect. We're going to say, please provide a URI. Oops. And I realize there are crates that will handle this better, but for right now, this is going to be enough. Okay, so we want to say let URI equals args1. Yep. And now we're going to say, first, let's go to our flowchart. So we can close this for now. So we're going to have some kind of list of links. So we're going to create that links list. So we're going to say let mute URI list equals vec new. Not what I wanted. Vec new. Okay, and then we're going to say let's see what it's got here. So a lot of this is going to be generally vibe coded, but I still want to review exactly what it's doing. We're not just going to accept a bunch of this stuff and just hope that it works. Like, I want to understand what it's actually suggesting here. So if the URI starts with HTTP, yeah, fine. It's going to push it to the string, or going to push it to the list. Okay. Then if it doesn't start with HTTP, actually we don't care about this because we're not going to bring in a file right now. So we just actually, if not, we're going to please provide a valid URI. Sure, that's going to be our validation for right now. That can go away. Okay, so now we have a list of URIs. Well, we got a list with one URI in it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our flowchart and we're going to say, is the list empty? Okay, so we're going to say, we're going to loop, and this is going to say, And this is going to, if URI list is empty, then break. Okay, perfect. So gotta go fetch the URI. So let's say, okay. So let contents equals, yep. Okay, so why are those failing? Cannot find blocking in request. Okay, so we're doing obviously something wrong here. So do we have autocomplete? We do. Okay, so we're going to say, now I feel like this is where we had to do the client builder. So we're going to say let client equals request block. No, we're just going to DTC that. Okay, so that's going to be the, pardon me, the where we get the connection pooling out of. So we're going to say client get. Now, I'm going to totally mess this up here, but we're going to say client, sure, dot get, sure, await. So now, oh, right, that was the other thing. So we need to make this an async function, but I know we can't do that because it has to be, I know Tokio has to, is it async syntax? Cannot find main in Tokio. What is the thing? Is it Tokio sync? No. Okay. Tokio allow async main. We're gonna figure this out. Come on. Yeah, it's Tokio main async function main. Cannot find main in Tokio. Oh, I think that's probably the feature that I need to import. So we're going to say Tokio main feature. Create feature. Current thread. Multi-threaded runtime flavor. Multi-threaded. And how do we get this? Okay, so this helps set up a runtime without the blah blah blah. How do we get this? I know there's a feature that we need to tag on or tack on here. Yeah, features will get full, whatever. I'm sure there's going to be Rust people watching this and freaking the hell out. That's okay. Regex Tokio. We're going to say, what is it? Version equals that. Features full. And we're going to say cargo install, cargo add Tokio features full. Apparently I did this already. All right. Last time. Okay, so now it's not complaining. Good. So let's see here. Let's just we're going to be doing a lot of this too, a lot of print lines. So we're going to say response equals that. No, we want to say contents equals that. That's not PHP, so we're doing that. Okay. Cool. Okay, so we're going to say, not cargo add, we want to go cargo run. Okay, so first this is going to compile, so hopefully this doesn't take too long. Okay, so please provide a URI. Good, we didn't do that. So we're going to say, yeah, sure, we'll do my main site. Okay, so it did not like that because we aren't doing named arguments right now. Of course, that's going to complain. Okay, yes. Okay, so it's got the contents. That's cool. All right, and it's looping because we're not removing it from the list. And actually, what we want to do. So okay, so here's we're going to go back to the flowchart that I have. So this list right now is just taking it. We're just using it as like a list of strings, which are URIs. But what we really want is we actually want like a URI struct. And the struct is going to say, it's going to have a URI field, like a path or whatever, which is the actual path. And then we're going to have fetched as a Boolean. So it's going to start out as false, obviously. And then, pardon me, once it's been retrieved, we can flip the fetch to true. And then this list, when we say list empty, really what it means is list has URIs without fetched. A little bigger there. All right. So yeah. So if we don't set fetched, or if we don't flip fetched for each URI to true, then it's just going to keep doing those same things. But really, what this should be is if URI list. Actually, okay, so let's do a couple of things. We're going to create a struct first. Struct URI. This is going to be a URI string, and it's going to be a fetched bool. Okay, never construct. Fine. That's fine. So we're going to say let. Now, this is going to be the bane of my existence here, because I'm going to be, my brain wants to work in PHP mode. So we're going to say let URI equals URI args1 clone fetched false. Correct. Okay. So if URI dot URI, yep, push URI that. Okay, it's fine. And now we're going to say URI list dot URI. Okay, so failed to send request. Yeah, failed to read response, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to say, okay. So really, we shouldn't be hard coding this right here. How do we want to do this? I think we actually are probably going to need to have a separate function that gets all this stuff. How do I want to do that? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to do that for a second here so I can get my thoughts straight. So, okay, so what I'm thinking about is like, we're going to have a function that just uses the client to get these contents and then returns it. So it kind of abstracts away all the chaining and stuff here. And that way we can do one request outside of the loop to start populating the list with more things. But right now, no, I guess that actually should be okay. But I still want to have a function that does all this. So we're going to do this. We're going to say let contents equals fetch contents with, it's going to take a client and the URI. Okay, and so we're going to say async fetch contents. Yep. Let response equal client get URI, send, await, unwrap. Yeah, content, respect tag. Yes. Okay. So, and then it's going to respond to contents. Okay, cool. So save that. Now, if we say, why is that freaking out? Okay, so it is, should have snake case name. Okay, fine. Fetch contents. Fetch contents. All right. Future output string doesn't implement format string. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Can we do... Now, this is going to be me just playing around here because I don't know what the hell is going on. Use of move value, client moved here. So can we say client? Yes. Okay, so we want to take that. We want to do that. Borrow move value, value borrowed here after move. Okay, so value moved here, so we want to do that. Okay, so now this should do the same thing, right? It's going to fail. Okay, yeah, because we're not doing anything. Okay, that, or it's going to keep looping. But now what we want to say is we want to check if, so we're going to say if it's, URI, let URI dot fetched equals true. Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Which is fine, blah, blah, blah. So the data refers cannot be written. Right. Okay, because we're just sending a reference. So we have to say, So really then, okay, so this is just fetching the content. So we can just take a, oh my God, URI is just going to be a string. Yeah, I know. Okay, and then this is going to be a URI.URI, and we don't need to borrow it anymore. It does not implement the copy trait. Can we do toString? Cool. Okay. And then we can say, okay, so we've got the contents now, and we're going to say URI.fetched equals true. Cannot, is not declared mutable, cannot assign. So do we have to do mute here? Found keyword mute. I swear one of these is going to be the right one. I'm sure, again, you guys are all screaming at me. Let URI, let mutable URI, there we go. Okay, so now you're fetched as borrowed. It was already borrowed. Okay, so actually, okay, so here's where we need to have this loop. So we want to say, I'm just going to comment this out for a minute here, because what we really need to do here is we want to say for URI in URI list iter yes. Then we want to let contents blah 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 URI fetched. Cool. Let's just paste that in there for now. One is behind an at reference, cannot assign. This iter holds you at references. Okay, so URI is an at reference, so the data it refers to cannot be written. Variable does not need to be mutable. Variable does not need to be mutable. I thought it does because iter mute, is that a thing? Iter mute. Okay, cool. All right, and so really with this like inside this loop here, this is going to become the Tokio stuff. Right now, we're obviously just single threaded. Obviously, that's going to change once we want to go multi-threaded. But really now what we want to say is if URI list, and we want to say, this is probably a bad O of like n squared or something, but right now we're just going to make it work and then we'll make it better. So what I'm thinking about is like for if basically what I'm thinking about is like we want to iterate through the entire URI list, and if there are any that are not fetched, oh sorry, if all of them are fetched, then we want to break out of this loop. So I'm just going to use some nice comments here. So we're going to say, check if all URIs have been fetched. If so, break the loop. Perfect. Okay, so now that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to iterate through URI list. It's going to get the URI, and if the URI fetched specifically, if they're all fetched, then they've been fetched, and we can break out of this loop. So then at that point, we should be done. So it should be able to get the copy once, all URIs have been fetched. Perfect. That's golden. Okay, so next thing we want to do as part of this process is, okay, so it's been fetched. So let's go back to our flowchart here. So we've fetched the contents of the URI itself, and now we want to process it. So the first thing we need to do is figure out if it's HTML or not. So let's go like this, and we're going to say check if contents are HTML, seem like HTML. Then we're going to say if so, parse for links. Otherwise, basically right now we're not even going to worry about saving the contents. We're just going to like iterate through all of the links. Otherwise, actually we don't even need to do it otherwise because we're not saving anything right now. So check if the contents seem like HTML. Okay, so we're going to say look for A tags. Sure. Look for any A tags. So we're going to say if contents contain blah, 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 sure, whatever. Found links in the response. Parse the links. Parse the contents for links to extract the actual links. So we're going to do our own regex here. And again, fool's errand. I know this is not the right way to do it. Really, this is just more of a teaching exercise to learn how Rust works. I'm not super worried about it being like the most performant thing. I just want to understand like how Rust generally does stuff, because I'm just a full stack guy. I don't typically do like or actual console applications. So if the contents contain that, we will assume that it contains links, and we're going to say, in fact, if contents contains, yeah, okay. Now, so here's the next thing that I'm thinking about. So if we go back to our thing here, so we're going to find more links, and we're going to use regex to find them. Now, to find the internal links, because we don't want to replace any external links. So for example, if you have a website and you have a font that's hosted by like fonts.com, so there's a reference, like some like link tag to fonts.com/Helvetica or whatever. We don't want to replace those links. We only want to replace the ones that start with whatever URI you passed in originally. So somewhere in this, we need to kind of track or keep note of like the original URL that was passed in. Now, right, I have this like struct of a spider that has like an initial URI as a string. We will get to that eventually, but for right now, we're just going to store it in another variable, and then we can kind of extract that to a proper struct as we get kind of deeper into this. So again, we are going to say let original, pardon me, what do we call it? Initial URI. Initial URI equals args1 clone. Yes. Okay. And so now we can say if the contents contains this, like an A tag, and we're also going to say, and you know what? I want to do this proper, like right away. So we're going to say, is there a Rust HTML parser? Probably not, but who knows? Scraper. Okay, this is doing too much of, well, maybe not. Okay, examples. Okay, so given this, parse document, blah, blah, blah. Selecting elements, parse, li, and wrap. Okay, so it's going to give that. Serializing HTML. Parsing a document. Okay, so you know what? We're going to use this. So let's go to cargo, add scraper. All right. So now, how do we use this thing? Use scraper HTML. Okay, so we're going to say if HTML parse documents, yeah, contains any A tags. And so, okay, so what this is doing is going to parse the documents and the contents here. It's going to select any, it's an interesting way of doing it. Parsing a document, selecting elements. Okay, so selector. So let's import selector as well, so we don't have to have weird long FQDNs or whatever they're called in Rust. So we're going to say selector. Okay, and it's going to parse for A records, unwrap them, and then for element in fragment selector. Okay, so I think we want to split this up here. So we're going to do what these guys did. So we're going to say let the actual HTML equals HTML parse documents. Yes. We'll just leave that there because it's got some notes that we're going to need for our logic. Let's selector parse A. Yes. And then we're going to say let parse unwrap HTML select selector. Yep. Collect into a vector. Yes. Now, in fact, we don't actually want to do that quite yet because we want to say So for link in HTML select selector, link value attribute href. Okay, and so we want to actually check to see if this link starts with our initial URI. So we're going to say if link dot value, yep, dot adder href, yep, href is how do we say dot unwrap or whatever for now equal so we want to say dot, can we do, is there starts with or no, initial URI, yep, string. So we're going to find the link and we're going to add this now to our URI list. Push a URI. Yep. Fetched false. Correct. Okay, cannot borrow as mutable more than one time. Okay, so why, where is it mutable? Cannot borrow as mutables and not. Cannot borrow is mutable. First mutable borrow here. Right. Okay, so I think this is where I'm going to get confused here because so can't do this because then we can't update the URI. Cannot assign to URI fetch, which is behind an at reference. Variable does not need to be mutable. Yeah. All right. So how will we deal with this? Borrow URI list is mutable because it also borrowed as immutable. Mutable borrow occurs here. So is that not how you push something to a vec? I thought vec knew just exposed push and you could just push as many things to it as you liked. Sorry, just one sec here. Cannot borrow URI list as mutable because it is also borrowed as immutable. But we're not. Now, is it because I'm doing it like this? Oops. Let URI equals URI. All right. Still going to complain. Okay, so it's still borrowed as mutable. Like, do I have to do like that? No, I don't think so. No, that doesn't make any sense. Oh. Okay, so I think I know what the problem is. Okay, so you can't modify it while you're in the loop, right? Okay, so that makes sense. So I ran into this problem when I was messing around with the other kind of version. So what I ended up doing is saying, okay, so we're going to have we're going to have call it new URI or URIs to add whatever vec new. Okay, so then we're going to say URIs to add push URI, yeah. And then we're going to say, so it will, if there are any new ones that that it needs to find, we're going to say add new URIs to existing list, right? And so what this is basically saying is so for URI and URIs to add, so the ones that we've just found, if there are any if there are ones that don't have that don't exist in the current list, push them, and that then the new one will, now we can go back and iterate over them again, and we'll see if there's any new ones that we need to scan over. Otherwise we can just skip them. Okay, so cannot borrow URI list. Is it immutable? Okay, so I think that error URIs to add is mutable. Oh. Yeah. Mute. Okay, so cannot assign to URI fetched because it's still behind an @ reference. Okay, so what do we need to do here? Yeah, that's not going to work, right? Yeah. And if we go down to here, this probably is not going to work, but maybe it will. Tray bound to string into URL is not satisfied by the tray into URL. Again, not going to work. Right. Okay. What else can we do here? So now, if we say simple URI, sure, to make a new one, whatever. What about if we say mark fetched? Yep. Takes a mutable version of itself. It sets itself to true. Okay. So here now we can say let URI equal URI new. Actually, URI clone. Yep. Fetch false. Yep. Okay. And so this can now be let URI equals URI new. That. Yep. Okay, and then can we say URI mark fetched? Well, that let us do things. Cannot borrow URI as mutable. Still. That's not going to do anything. So I think this is what they're talking about when people get frustrated with the borrow checker, because it's like, again, coming from a language that definitely doesn't have this style of memory management. It's like I don't understand what it needs to like be satisfied. Um, Generator yields and references. Can't go back to mutable, right? It's not going to solve it. Does it solve the problem? Okay, no problems. Okay, so all right. Well, let's run the spider and see if it finds the links on my site. Hopefully, this won't take too long to compile. Well, it's getting a bunch of links. It's getting them. Okay, so this is taking a while. What I'm curious about is okay, so don't even care about found links. Okay, so first of all, let's get rid of this because we're not doing that anymore. The other thing is I don't care about if we find a link. What we really care about is like if we're adding a new one, like if it's something that we've never seen before. So yeah. Okay, so let's try this again. We definitely don't need to dump out the like actually write out the contents. So where are we fetching here? Fetch contents. That yeah, right there. Okay, so you can even just leave the where it's fetching. Yeah, and if we look, like these are all unique URLs. Perfect. So, I mean, that generally seems to be working as far as like actually spidering the site. We're not writing the contents yet anywhere. That's cool. We can work on that next. But at the very least, like we've got a spider that's finding links and returning them and putting them in a vector for us, which is, I mean, the basics of a spider, right? The next thing we need to do is like build the mirroring part. So we're gonna, how do we want to do this? So if we fetch the contents, we are going to write the contents. So we're going to say, if contents is empty, sure, yeah, I like that. Now we're going to say write the contents bytes to a file. Okay, so what is it suggesting here? We're going to say format the HTML. We're going to replace any HTTP with nothing. Okay, you know what? Let's extract this to a function. So we're going to say let, how do we want to do this? Let, I don't even know if we need a variable here, but we'll just say let blah equals write contents. So we're going to say URI, and the contents. Sure. Okay, so it's going to write the contents based on the URI, so that's fine. So we're going to say write contents of a U8. Yep. Okay, so let the file name be that. It's going to create a file using Tokio. Write all. Why is this complaining? No method name write all. It's just write maybe. Function defined here. Yeah. Okay, so now if we say Tokyo, do we really even need the FS or the Tokyo stuff? Do we not have the, is FS not included by default? Probably not, because it's probably not the standard library. Triple to handle, yeah, that. Okay, so Tokyo FS. Okay, so how create Tokyo. Okay, so FS. How do we create a file? Using file open. FS file. Is file a thing? It is. Okay. Create. And so right now I'm just going to hard code this. Obviously this is going to change. I guess we can say file name. Oh wait, it's going to put it in the wrong place, but whatever. And then no method named write all. So we say file dot write. So here's where I don't know. Is there like a write all? File write. Okay. Contents. Yep. Dot await. Okay, so why is this complaining? Function defined here. Yes, I'm aware of what a function is. Thank you. Why is this? Is it actually going to complain about something? Write contents expected U8 found and at string. Okay, so right. So contents really right now it's returning it as a string when really we want to I think it's like okay, so there's the request trait or the request crate, sorry, request. And there's a way to actually get the body in bytes. And I don't remember what it is. Client posts and making a get request. Best to create a client and reuse it. Yeah, we're doing that to take advantage of keep alive connection pooling. Yep. Where is request body, request response? Okay, so pardon me. Text. So we don't want the text. That's what we're getting right now. We want bytes. Okay, so it's just response. Ooh. Response dot bytes. Yep. Okay, so now it's going to be complaining because that's not correct. It's found bytes. Okay, so is that the right way? Mismatched types that are actually distinct types. Okay, so how? Result of bytes. missing generics for struct. Expected one generic argument. Okay. That same? No, of course not. Okay, so how do we return this? Full response body as bytes. Yeah. So bytes, we do get, await, yeah, get. Hmm. It's like I know what I need to do, kind of. That's gonna fail because of return type mismatch. Found struct bytes, bytes, bytes. What if we just do bytes, bytes, bytes? Cargo add bytes. Module bytes as private. Oh my god. Okay. Can I just see one example of someone doing this? Oh my god. Okay. We can't just, like, we have to define a return type, right? Yeah. Expected vec. Failed to fetch back of nothing. Move occurs because not implement the copy trait. Oh my god. All right. So what could this be now? So, contents to vec. Hooray! Okay. We do to stir. That would be too easy. Sure. All right. So now what I'm curious about is, so right now we're looking for like something HTML. Some sites, like some URLs, won't have .html on them, right? So we really have to be a little smarter about this. So how do we actually want to do this? We're going to say, let's make another function. So we're going to say let file name equal generate file name of the URI. Yes. Okay. And generate. Okay. So that's just basically what we had before. That's fine. I want to go back to our flowchart here if it decides to load. And so this is the kind of relative pathing that I'm thinking about here. So we can actually do this right on the URI, so we don't even need to generate this here. We can just impl on it on the URI. Okay, so we are going to do URI dot relative path. Relative path. It's going to complain because it doesn't implement it. Because it's... Okay, so we're going to... Let's go back to how it was a few minutes ago. Okay, so we're going to say... I'm going to take in a file name. It's going to be a string. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it doesn't know why or what it's passing in. That's fine. So on the URI, now we're going to have a function that's going to say relative path. And it's going to take a self. Okay, so this is not correct what it's suggesting here. So I'm going to just comment it out for now. But I'll talk about what we kind of want here. So first we're going to take the URI. So we're talking about this section down here. And so we're going to take the URI and we're going to say, okay, so if there's no file name, basically it's just the scheme, the domain, and a trailing slash. And actually, I want to make this a little bit long. Oops. Can I just add another line here? Yes. Okay. So we're going to say https://example.com without the trailing slash should also append the index.html, right? So these should be treated the same. We basically want to figure out how many things, and actually I want to switch this around for a second because it will make it a little more obvious what we're trying to accomplish here. So, okay, so there are URL parsers, or URI parsers in Rust, and we're going to grab one in a minute. I think it's just called URI. And it will give you the path segments, which is like test, hello.html, whatever, right? And so what we're going to say is if there are one or no path segments, so if there's none, right, it's just an empty string kind of thing, or there's only one, we're basically just going to say either use the thing that it gave us, or if it's a file name, so we're going to have to look for a .ht, a dot in there versus a trailing slash. But even a trailing slash this is, if we go like this, that is a valid URL, a URI, and we still want to treat it like a folder, right? So we're basically going to say if it has a dot in it, we're going to assume that's a file name. If there's no dot, we're going to assume that it's a folder. And so if it's a file name, we're just going to keep the file name unless it's missing entirely, and then we're going to call it index.html, or we're going to say if it doesn't have a dot, we're going to treat that as a folder name. If the path segment has a folder name, then we're going to add slash index.html. So there's a little bit of logic here, but we'll kind of work our way through it little by little here. So we're going to say Rust URI or URL. Okay, sorry. So we're going to add the cargo add URL. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so what did we say? We said we'll just work through our options one by one. So we're going to parse the URL first. So how do we parse it? We're just going to URL parse, okay, and the string. Cool. Okay, so we're going to say let parsed URI equals URL parse. Yes. And I actually want to URL URL find parse yank that, use that, not doing that, don't need any of that. Oops. Yeah. Just give me 2 seconds. DTU. Okay, so now, so we've got the parsed URL. So if there are no path segments, so path segments is empty, we're going to say the relative path is just slash. So we're going to say if parse URI path segments. Okay, so how do we want to say this? If is there like just like a dot length or dot count or something? Dot count. Okay, and we don't want all this crap, so let's do this ourselves. So we're going to say let path segments count equals, yep, cool. Okay, so if path segments, and we'll inline this later, but for right now, we're just going to do one at a time. So we're going to say if path segments count is 0, then we are going to return just a slash. Actually, no. So I think what we actually need, we need another struct, and this is going to be, and I'll explain my thinking here in a second. So we're going to say we're going to have a remote, like a remote path. We're going to say a local path. Yeah. Okay. So because in future things we're going to need, we're going to have, we're going to need both the local version and the remote version. So we're going to path struct, yes. So we're going to return a, and let's impl this just so we can have a new. I like that better. Yep. So we're going to say path new. And so the remote one is just going to be slash, and the local path is going to be slash index.html. HTML. Yes. Okay. Why? Oh, right. Gotta return it. If maybe missing an else clause. Okay, whatever. Expected string found at stir. Path segments count. What am I missing here? Function new. Associated function find here. String, remote local. Yeah. What am I doing here? If maybe missing an else. Okay, so we're going to, for right now, just to make this easy, else, blah. Is that even a thing? Expected string found stir. Oh, right. To string. And to string. Okay, expected path. Yeah, found nothing. Okay, so next we're going to say else if it is exactly 1. So this is going to be two different, we're kind of dealing with two different things here. Number one, we're dealing with the files. Number two, we have to figure out if it's a folder, because, oh, actually, yeah. So we just have to figure out if it's a file or a folder. So path segments count equals 1. We're going to say, yeah, if parsed URI path. So it's suggesting ends with, but that's not quite it. And not contains period. Yeah. Okay, so if it's a path, so we're just basically assuming that. Otherwise, give us the string itself. Path is going to give us test. Is it the local? Which one is first? Actually, I want to do this the other way around. Just for my own sanity. I realize everything else aside from this probably doesn't matter, but that's okay. Remote is a string. Okay, and so now string, yep. And then that's actually not correct. So if it ends with a slash, we're going to write this out ourselves. Return. Okay, so this is the idea that we're getting this one, or like one of these two. So in that case, we want to take the path new. We're going to say parsed URI path. Yep. And the parsed URI path to string. Yep. Okay, this. And then, so if it is the file name, so now it's this case, we're just going to, we're just going to replace, or we're just going to use the file name as the local. So return path new is going to be slash format. That's not right. So we're going to say this path. Okay. So now we're in the other situation, the final situation where it could be, this is probably a bad example, but we're going to say test2. So this should be responding to test2. And actually, let's even go deeper. We're going to say folder. Okay. So we want to in fact, we can actually generalize this even more. So what we're really saying is, does the final path segment contain a dot? Because I don't care about that. Here's what I'm thinking about. So if we have hello folder, this should go to test hello folder. Fine, go away. Index.html. So what we really need is like a way to determine just the final segment. If the final segment has a dot, we treat it as a file and we just leave it the same. If if the final segment does not have a dot, we append slash index.html. Okay, so that actually makes more sense. Okay, so if path segments equals 0, then we just append, we're just doing new HTML. Otherwise, so we're going to say if, okay, so now if else if path segments count is greater than 0. So actually we just say else. Okay, so if it's greater than if the count is greater than 0, so there's some kind of path, there's something in here. We want to say if the parsed path ends with a slash, I'm just going to say, I don't even want to worry about the ends with right now because it's a kind of, following this expression is unreachable. Path segments count. Is it triple equals here? Nope. If else, oh, right. Okay. So if the parsed path contains this. Okay, so actually what we really want is we want to say let last segment equals last unwrap. Yes. Okay, so if the last segment contains a dot, we want to take the path, the entire path, and append a slash index.html. And we want to have the whole path as a string. Otherwise, just keep it as is. So this means that it doesn't have a dot, which means we care about the whole thing. So the whole file name. So what I want to do is, I wonder if, I guess there's no way to print this stuff out. So, sorry, I think my wife is texting me. Let's see. Okay. So how can we debug this? We're going to say print ln. We're going to say, how do we want to do this? Pardon me. Actually, let's go like this. Root domain found. We're going to say this, and we're going to say parsed URI path. Yeah, whatever. Directory found, file found. Works for me. Okay. So let's go to our next error here. Yeah, so write contents is going to expect a string. So we can now just do that. Move out of, which is added behind mutable reference. Ugh. What the hell? Did I break something horribly? I don't feel like I did. Path, function, associated function new is never used. I feel like that's not true. Oh, because we're not calling relative path anywhere. Okay, right. So now the the file name that we actually want to send here is not URI. We want to say URI relative path dot local. So that can work. Okay. Field remote is never read, whatever, that's fine. We will be using that later, I believe. So for right now, let's just try and run this and see how poorly we've done this stuff here. Okay, so whatever, dead code is fine. This is going to complain because it's been changed, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Okay, so it's finding directories. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm just going to cancel it here for now. That's fine. Okay, so let's take a look. So directory found, we can kind of assume that directory found is going to be for this because everything is like directory found and then the fetched version of it. So this is all seems correct. Now, did I create a bunch of files? No. ls source. No. ls target. I just want to make sure that I'm not writing a bunch of files here. Oh, target. Debug. Okay, so we have not created files yet, which is good. We have not. Okay, so we're supposed to be writing content. So let's say print ln, writing the file name, yeah. Found macro. Oh, exclamation mark. Okay, so. Oh, you know what? I wonder. No. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so right now I think it's because, okay, so it's trying to write to like the root of my drive. So we need to have it relative to where we currently are at least. So how do we concatenate? So we're going to say writing to file, blah, blah, blah. So I think the other thing we want to do here, because we're going to have multiple projects eventually, is we're going to say we want the so this path is quickly becoming this the spider, I think. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. Root storage path, project storage path. Yeah. Okay, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to rename this to spider. I promise there's a reason for doing this in a minute. Okay, so we want to, yes, that's fine. Spider. All right. So it's going to return a spider. No. Okay. So again, this is my brain not working in the right order. So what we need to do is, so when I think of spider, I'm thinking of like the kind of, unfortunately, the only way I'm aware of is like a God object of settings kind of thing, right? So like the domain, the local storage, like kind of the root of where we're going to start storing things and that kind of stuff. So let's just start building this. So we're going to say, we'll get all these things here. So scheme, because I'm sure we're going to need this eventually. We won't store it all. Actually, you know what? Let's just do the things that we actually need for now. Do it when we need it. So we're going to say, when do we say root storage path is going to be a string. And then project storage path is going to be a string. Okay. So yeah, so as you can see, and we'll even set the initial URI to be a string. Yep. Okay, so you can see like the root storage path is like where on my hard drive is it going to start saving stuff, right? And we'll set like a default for now, and then we'll allow it to be configurable through the command line later, kind of thing. And then the project storage path is like, okay, so you've given us this domain of example.com. Under the user next a sites folder, we're going to create a new folder called example.com, and everything else is going to live under this folder. So that's what the two different ones are going to be. So when we start up this app, we are going to create a new spider, which we're going to pass through because it's going to have settings for various things. So let's go to let spider, not British, spider equals that project storage path. Okay, so we'll deal with this in a second, but pardon me. So this is going to now be a spider clone. Yeah. Yeah. This should really go up here as more guard clauses before we start doing anything. New. Okay, cannot find value spider. All right. Okay, so all that stuff I just did doesn't matter. Okay, so we have a spider. It's going to have a few settings right now. And again, we will do this better. We will make this better. Right now, I just want to make it work. And then we will kind of refactor and make it better. So we have a spider. It's going to have some paths. And the other thing we're going to need is like, instead of this project storage path, we're going to have to parse out the domain. So how do we want to do that? We're going to say spider URI clone. We're going to URL parse args one as string. Host string. No, we want the domain, I think. Yes. Unwrap to string. Okay, so let's just wonder if we can we print ln the spider? And then can we just exit? How do we exit out of a program? Is that a thing? Exit? No. Die, maybe? Turn 0. Exit Rust program. Entered process exit 0 for now. That's fine. Okay, so let us rerun this. Unreachable statement. Okay, fine. Not found in the scope. Right, because it hasn't existed yet. Okay, so now how do I... Warning. Okay, so line 126 starts with initial URI string. So yeah, this should really be if starts with spider initial URI. give us a warning. Okay, so project storage path is going to be next.dev. Yeah, that's the domain, right? Initial URI is this. Root storage path is /. Perfect. So, in fact, again, we're going to hard code this for now, but we're going to say /sites/ Okay, so yeah, blah blah blah. Now, the file name now is going to be in a folder. So we need to make sure that the folders exist, because if they don't, then we need to make them first. So create the directory if it doesn't exist. Yes. Path. Create dir all. Sure. If parent doesn't exist, let's okay, so string path. Okay, well, try it out. Again, learning here. So let's run this. Okay, so ls. Okay, so there's no sites folder in there right now. Okay, and let's cancel out of here. Is there a sites folder now? There's not. Find star grep sites. There's not a sites folder anywhere. So let's say print ln writing to file name. Yes, and then print ln file written. Okay, so let's see if it's getting to the file write part at all. Yeah, so you can see it's saying writing to file, but it never gets to file written, or yeah, file written. So something about this is failing. So what could be failing about it? We want to create it, we write it. Do we need to flush it? Yeah, it's still not writing to those files. So how do we get the response here? The error that it's throwing, because it's obviously throwing some kind of error. Now I want this to fail, and I want it to it's going to be a bunch of bytes. So technically this should fail, or throw a bunch of like weirdness on the screen here. And this is going to, I think it needs like that. Yeah, so that's interesting. So it's only ever getting one file. And it's also not making the folder. So why is that? Source. Let's target. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so what are we not doing? So Tokio FS. So Tokio FS write content as bytes. That's not what we are doing. So write contents. So we can do it simpler. So let's do it the way they're talking about. So we can say to read the file, blah, blah, blah. To overwrite the file, we're going to say Tokio FS write. I'm going to say file name, contents, or as bytes, What is that? Not, yeah. Maybe I don't need to because it's already being passed in as a U8. And we don't need that. use the implementer of future. Must be used. Futures will do nothing. Oh, await. Okay, cool. So let's try this again. Probably going to fail. Writing to file. It still never gets to written. So why is that? Okay, so I think part of it is that we're still not. So we've got the relative path, but we're not really using it right now. So if we say write contents relative path, right, because we really need the spider. Let's just pass in the spider. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. So we're going to say spider is a spider. I don't think that's doing what we think it's doing. So we're going to say let path format spider root storage path, project storage path, and then slash this, and that's going to take in the file name. Let's just minimize that for a second, and we're going to say println path. So where does it think? Format argument must be a string literal. Okay, so whatever path. I realize there's probably easier ways to do this, but that's okay for now. Contents is not being read. That's fine. Spider, I don't know what it's complaining about. We'll see in a second. Okay, so spider cannot compile spider, bin spider, 2 warnings emitted. Consider implementing clone for this type. Spider initial. Fine. Now is it happy? Okay. Clear that. Try it again. Okay, it's gonna bitch. Okay, so it's got some slashes in there that we need to get rid of. Sites, next dev, / index. Okay, so that's closer. So now I'm curious if we say Tokio, create dir all, path await. Okay. And then don't need the contents because that's never going to be anything useful. And if we say the path, we want to write the contents to that path. Now I'm curious if this is going to work. Probably not, but who knows? Weirder things have happened. Okay, so did a sites folder get created? Yes, sites folder did get created. What's in sites? You see a next.dev. Cool. Sites next.dev. Okay. Right. Okay. So, so here's the other problem. So it's made a folder called index.html, and it did not create a file called index.html. So that's why part of it wasn't working, at least. So let's go rm. So let's actually just, every time we start this, I just want to start from a clean slate. So for now, we're just going to say rm rf sites. That's going to run and fail. Okay, it's fine, whatever. So this is the thing here. So the what do I want to say? The file name does not need to be created as part of the path, right? What we want to say is let file path format that and the file name. And so now this becomes, because we want to create the directory, like the whole path, because there could be like 10 folders all nested, right? So the create dir all sounds like it should create those recursively, right? And then we want to append the file name to that path based on what is being passed through. So I don't know if this is going to work. We'll try it out and see how it goes. Yeah, that's not working either, because, well, maybe actually. Okay, so I'm just going to open another tab here. So we're going to go sites, next day dev. Okay, so we have an index.html. So if we cat index.html, that is some HTML. That sure looks like HTML. Cool. But it did not create any of the folders. So I'm looking here and I see a bunch of just sites next day dev with some index.html. And it's writing to the, seems like the wrong file. The, what I want to say, the, actually writing to file, that should be correct, except it's not with the dot at the beginning. So writing to file, this should be file path. File path. Okay. So again, it drives me bonkers that you cannot do that. This has to be done like this. And all we're trying to do is some fun old print line debugging, whatever. Okay, so I want to see, where is it storing, or where does it try to store this stuff? File written. Okay, so it's trying to write to sites index.dev, this path with a slash index.html. Okay, so if we go back into here, code spider sites. Yeah, it's not actually creating those files. So why not? So the file path is actually correct. It's running local, like the current directory sites nextday.dev, some folder, which is correct. Like that's the, it's like a slugified folder name, and then slash index.html. Now I'm curious about the double slash. That could be causing some issues. So let's go back here, path. And so I'm just thinking here. So when we're creating the path, it's creating a local. Yeah, that can go away. Do we need to track the file name independently and have like in our impl of the path to like tell us where, how do I want to say this? So if we just say file name, right? If we say file name string, and so we come down here and we say index.html to string. Yep. Right, we gotta do the thing. File name is a string. That's not how you spell string. Okay, so that one's fine now. So we will say format index.html. Yep. Otherwise, we're going to say last segment. Yes. And so now, because we have that, we can... Oh, we're not passing in the path, are we? We're just passing in the file name. So... So we can, instead of doing .local, we can take in the entire path. Yeah. Okay. So the path is the project source path. Yeah. And this is going to be file name. Yeah. Path. Oh, right. This is going to be folder path. Folder path. This is path.filename. Okay, so what do we get when we do this? Probably nothing good. And a lot of files written. Okay, well, not the right ones, but that's okay. Yeah, next dev index.html. Yeah. Okay, so this is probably going to need that there. Writing the file. Yeah. But it's not taking into account the rest of the path, so it's basically ignoring the folder. So that's this up here. So if the last segment does not contain a dot, we want the no. Okay, so don't need these. Don't need file name. A lot of extra slashes and not a lot of writing of files. Writing to file written. it's adding too many slashes for one. So let's get up here and so on the first one, it's adding 3 slashes. So where are all those slashes coming from? No, it's got to be down here then. Yeah, it's failing on everything that isn't. So why is this one still adding a slash? Okay, so folder path or path local. So this probably can be that. I betcha. Yeah, because it's got the trailing slash there. Okay, so we will do better about that in a bit. Okay, so where is it? Okay, so it's file written. I doubt that's the case. Yeah. So why is sites next dev index.html not working? C sites dev. Okay, so at least the home page is there. Actually, you know what? Let's double check that that's actually the home page, index.html. So is this actually? So it is just the home. There's no article name. So why are these other ones failing? It's only getting file written to the first one. Writing to file sites next dev, the blah 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 index.html. So what are we not doing with this writing? Pardon me. Look at that. Wow, I've been going for almost 2 hours already. That's kind of crazy. So add new URIs to existing list. We don't care about that. So why is it not? Okay, actually, I want to try something. I want to use my other site. And the reason for that is it's very short, very small. And so I want to see what happens when if we just let it run the whole thing. Now I know it's going to fail, but I want to know, does it just go through the list of URLs one time and then it's kind of done? Yeah. Okay. So number one, it's not adding the slash when it needs to. So we have to be more intelligent about this thing right here. So last segment contains, okay, so we want to say if we want to add a trailing slash to the path. So we're going to say if that path equals else irrefutable, that pattern will always match path. Okay, so that's how do we want to say this? Okay, so if parse URI ends with then we don't want to include the slash, otherwise we are going to do it. Add the slash. Okay, so let's get out of here. Okay, so yeah, so now it's adding the slash in between there when it needs to. Now it's still not writing to the file. That's not a big shock, but now if we go to Nextite dev, right, and perfect. Now it's not doing the double slashing. Okay, so fix that part. So now we can figure out, okay, so why is it not writing this file? Something about this line is failing and we're not seeing it. And so because what's happening is this is obviously returning like a bad error, or like a result of error, because otherwise it would get to this next line and then it would return the okay, but it's not. So what I don't know about Rust is how do we yeah, so let's write. Okay, so binary cannot be applied to type. Unwrap. Sure, let's try that. Okay, so failed to write file, no such file or directory. Okay, so what that's saying then is that the path, like it's having an issue writing to this. Okay, so so why is that not happy? Oh, because the project storage path doesn't include the like the specific URI's storage path. So, yeah, we need to say and again, let's follow our own advice and not add shit that we don't need right now. So we're just going to store that for now. Get rid of this, get rid of this. Okay, so that should be okay now, right? That. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to say, so what is the local? Local is the entire path. But what we actually want is local folder, local storage path of string, and local file name is string. Local storage name, local file name of string. Find local storage path. Whoops. All right. Now these are all going to be complaining because we are not and then we're also going to, for the impl path, we're going to say function full path okay, so seems right. Right, I'm going to do string. Oh, too far. This is going to be that. And so this, we're going to have to get to parse the path, but that's not quite correct because we don't want the last segment. We want to take all segments but the last and join them together with yes. Okay, cool. You can say, oops. So, segments, next back, unwrap. Yeah. We don't even need this because we already got it from up here. So what we really want is we want a for. How do we do a for loop in Rust that is like counted so that we can do like a 1 minus the length or like the length minus 1 kind of thing? Iterate through segments, ignoring the last one. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So takes the segments, creates a new path string. For the segments in this clone, we want to take all of them except one. We want to push the segment. So actually we want to say path.push. We want to have an initial slash on there. Okay. So okay, so iterate through the segments, ignoring the last one. Now we want to push that. So if we run this now, what is it going to say? Path local, right? Okay, so we got to get down here and we're going to say folder path, full path. No, we want to path local storage path. Yep, and we want to say path Local file name. There we go. All right. File written. That's a bunch of good files. Okay, so now, sweet. If we go into sites, next say dev. So if we go into the cannot use the SKU, right. Okay, so if we cat index.php, cannot use the SKU basic with file change audit for site. Oh my God, this works. That's kind of amazing, actually. We have a technically working spider. Now, it's obviously nowhere close to being done, but this works, which is kind of insane to me, actually. Now, we haven't done Tokio, so it's not multi-threaded. It's slow as hell. You know what? Let's do that. How do we... Tokio task, I think, is the OS thread, but rather Tokio runtime, green threads. Okay, fine. Tasks are lightweight. It's not required very low overhead. Tasks are scheduled cooperatively. Blah blah blah. So, task spawn. Yes. Okay. So let's. I think this is going to be the last thing we do here. So we're going to say to use Tokio task. Not going to worry about that impl message right now. We can deal with that later. So basically what we need to do is we need to take the, so basically like all of the code in this, like in here. So like all of this stuff, actually not even, just need to do this. Because basically what we're doing is we always, no matter what, we want to go fetch the contents, and then we need to write them. We do that for every file. Now there's going to be some that are going to have parsing included, but in fact, you know what? We can wrap this whole thing in the Tokio spawn. So Tokio task, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're going to say, task spawn that join await. Okay, so this is probably going to fail. So we're going to say let join equals task spawn. Yep. Async. And we're just going to get rid of this. And we are going to pull that down here. Okay. And then continue outside of loop. Okay, so in this case, instead of continuing, we will just return. It's probably going to break a whole bunch of other stuff, but that's okay. Whoa, cannot borrow more than once. We haven't. Now, we want to do that result. join dot await. Oh. Yeah, so how do we do this? This is not what I'm thinking. So let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Yeah, what are we missing? Let's just back out of here. So that's back to how it was. So what I'm thinking about right now is like, okay, so if we need to like, and I'm going to use the word dispatch. I know that's probably not the right term, but if we need to dispatch a task, like to spawn a task to go do some stuff, how do we like how do we do that in a loop, like in this for loop, right? Because we want to do like we don't want to do it outside of the like the constant loop, but just for each of these URIs in this URI list within this loop, we want to kind of execute this spawn, the Tokyo task spawn. So, some work here. Task spawn returns a join handle struct. A join handle itself is a feature we use. Wait the result of the spawn task. Spawn blocking, we definitely don't want that. We don't want them blocking. The whole point is that we want them to be async because it doesn't really matter in what order we get them. As long as we see them all eventually, it doesn't really matter. There's no implicit order to any of the URLs that we're going to see. So, might have to do a little more digging on this one. I've been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes already, so I think I'm probably going to call it here. Yeah, I think like the fact that we have files written to the file system that encapsulate the HTML that we've seen. I mean, it sucks. The performance sucks because it's single threaded and whatever, but like this is like it's bonkers to me. Like this is so cool. Sites, like you can watch it get larger here, which is so cool. For having never written Rust aside from just like trying to see if this is even a possibility, and I only spent like an hour on it, maybe two, like, but like beforehand kind of thing. So like beforehand, I've had 2 hours of actually typing Rust experience. That's it. And the fact that we have like a working spider that is able to go out to the internet, fetch these web pages, like HTML sites, HTML pages, and write them to our disk. I think that's super cool. Yeah, I'm very, very, very happy with this. So I will probably be back in the next day or two, maybe tomorrow, to start playing around with some of the Tokyo stuff. I'm going to do some reading offline and just see what I can figure out here. figure out what I'm doing wrong. And there's probably a better way to, what do I want to say? There's probably a better way to do this outside of or inside of a for loop. There's probably like special ways to do that. So I will find those out and I will get back to us. But yeah, I just want to thank you for hanging out on the stream here. It's been lots of fun, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.